And you know what time it is. It's the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Sam, take it away.
3-pack of Vikings questions today because the Vikings held their first round of press conferences with the workouts beginning yesterday, so a lot of juicy quotes. Number 1 from Kirk Cousins. Here's what he said. I would like to retire as a Viking, and so I would like to play my way into that. I know I got to earn the right to do that. So, Ron, the question is, what would Kirk Cousins need to do in the next 2 years of his contract to earn the right to retire a Viking?
So the sarcastic person in me, I saw that, and I saw everybody, of course, is putting that out there. Everybody wants to retire a Viking or a Lion, or well, not a Lion, a Patriot, a Saint. Like everybody wants to retire with the team they're with. That's like saying I want to live long and prosper. It is what it is. Like that to me is just a I don't even know the word. It's a canned answer that's kind of wrapped up in a bow. And so, yes, I get it. He does understand he needs to earn it. For me, earning it is going to be looking at your true salary. Like, do you truly think that, yes, the market will give you whatever. And a buyer and a seller, you look at the stock market, any market, everybody always says, what's the cost of this? It's, well, whatever the market will bear, like gas prices. It's whatever the market bears. If people don't buy gas because they literally just can't afford it, like if they were to say $50 a gallon, people would probably figure out ways, and companies would come up with quick ways for people to not have to drive as much and stay home. And, who knows what the world will look like. So it's what the market will bear. I think that's where Kirk Cousins falls as a quarterback. It's what will the market bear? What can the Vikings hold on to with him? At the end of the day, they have to be smart about the salary cap. Can you put 20% of your cap into this guy? Is he worth it? Is there a way to make it work for everybody? Is Kirk Cousins willing to do some Tom Brady type things and renegotiate and really get serious about this cap number and try to help out and get yourself the next great whatever you need, whether it is signing Justin Jefferson or whatever? You can't support Jefferson's contract that's coming up and Kirk Cousins' contract. That's going to be, I think, where the rubber meets the road. For me, what Kirk Cousins has to do is relax. He has to loosen up. He has to have fun. He has to take chances. He said that like, I try to be perfect. Try to be perfect, but understand there's no perfection. Nobody is perfect. Nobody. No man, no woman, no anything but God. Nobody's perfect. And so if in understanding that, he's got to be okay with an interception here and there. He's got to take that chance because it's the risk versus reward. What's the risk and then what's the reward? The risk of throwing like a dumb hitch with a corner standing there, there's no real reward there. But the risk of throwing a deep ball where there's a safety kind of trailing and you can make that perfect throw like we saw him do with Stephon Diggs in the Packers game, the reward was a touchdown. So that's where Kirk Cousins has to let the ball fly every once in a while, especially with Justin Jefferson.
I think he's got to win 3 or more playoff games in the next 2 years combined if he wants to extend his stay in Minnesota. That's my opinion.
The team's got to get him to the playoffs, though. The team's got to get him there. It's not just
he's got a lot to do with that, though. He's got a lot to do with that. Vikings players pointed to Za'Darius Smith, the new defensive end, as a source of energy for the defense this year. Ron, do you think Za'Darius Smith is going to be the emotional leader of this defense? And if not, who is it going to be?
Well, this is the time where I pay off the tease. I predicted the future. If you can go back, I think it was yesterday's show. You probably can edit it in there somewhere or just show people the clip. I predicted the future. I said yesterday Za'Darius Smith is the new blood, the new energy. I said he's the first person that tweeted and Instagram, messaged to put it on his story with Danielle Hunter and Eric Kendricks talking about Sacks Kings 2.0 or whatever they said. He's a guy that has new energy, a new zest for life. You watch him show up yesterday to the facility. He was super excited to be there. He had a little pep in his step. Some guys were showing up kind of like, okay, we're back. He was like excited. He was like, yeah, let's go. And so, yeah, I think he can be the new energy. I think he's going to be the fire starter. I think he's going to be the spark plug. He's going to be the guy to do the you like that on a t-shirt. Like he's going to have fun. He's going to enjoy with every ounce of his being playing the Packers. Like that's where you're going to see some energy. We saw Boone come in and try to say he was going to punch the other team in the mouth. Never happened. Za'Darius Smith, he will actually go out there and hit somebody in the mouth, and he's going to have fun doing it. He's going to be excited to do it. And I think that's where we're going to talk about this Kirk Cousins winning 3 playoff games. It's going to take that defense getting out the basement. It can't be 32 anymore. You have a top 15 defense, and then you have that 4,000-yard passer, 2,000-yard receivers, and 1,000-yard running back. You're in the playoffs. And that's just me.
Yeah, I think Eric Hendricks is still the foundation of that defense because he has so much equity on this team. But I think Smith is right there with him. And you look at who he's essentially replacing. He's replacing Everson Griffin. And that left a huge emotional void to lose Griffin. To have that fiery tandem edge rusher, I think that gives the team just an extra dose of tenacity. So I think it's huge that if he can have a good relationship with Daniil, if those two can be on the same page and just sort of lead that group and get after the passer, I mean, that's going to help everybody. If the front 4 or the front, 5 in whatever the 3-4, if the outside linebackers are coming, that's going to help the secondary. It's going to help the, Harrison Smith and company on the back end if they can get to the quarterback. So he's going to be a pivotal part of this defense. So if you combine like how valuable he is with his sort of emotional leadership, he might be one of the MVPs of this defense for sure.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
I agree. Like I think that, like I said, I predicted the future. I think he is the energy ball. Eric Hendricks is going to be the leader. He'll be the energy ball.
Harrison Smith is 33 years old. He said that he'll play in the NFL until they kick me out. So at age 33, how many more years will it be for Harrison Smith until he does get kicked out of the NFL?
Yeah, so I was actually Googling this question because I had it in my head, and then I'm like, you know what? Who does Harrison Smith remind me of that he can last that long? He wants to until he gets kicked out. Well, Charles Woodson. That's the name that came up when I looked it up. When I was putting all my stuff together and I was trying to go through my notes, Charles Woodson played 18 seasons in the NFL. The big difference, he started off at cornerback, switched to safety. Harrison Smith's been a safety. So if his health, because we know he takes care of his body, he has his own trainer, he has his own regimen with food. He's married now. We know that young guys tend to not do the right things with their body because they're eating fast food or they're always just grabbing food on the go. When you're married, you actually come home and you think about, what are we going to eat? I don't know a woman out there that's married that's just going to be okay with grabbing fast food every night because you're just driving home from practice. So Harrison Smith getting married this past year, I think that even adds to his longevity because now he's not going to have the stress of being out late. He's not going to have the stress of worrying about the little things at home. He has a helpmate. He has somebody there to help him. He has somebody to mentally outload or offload anything he's downloading, anything he wants to talk about. Like, he has now added time to his career because she's going to make sure that he's fed right. She's going to make sure that if he says, hey, babe, I'm going to stop and grab this blah, 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 fried chicken. No. We're eating this. You might be cooking it, Harrison, but I have it ready and prepped at home. You're going to throw these shish kebabs on the grill, or you're going to put these, potatoes in the oven with the peppers and the, chives and all this. Like, he can play 18 years. I think he's on near 10 or 11. 7 more years, that's a lot. But I say for sure at least 4 to 5 more years when you look at playing safety, and as good as he is, he hasn't really lost a step. Charles Woodson lost a step, but he went from corner to safety. Safeties don't have the same responsibility as cornerbacks. They don't have to chase receivers every single play. Now, putting his shoulder in there and some of the stuff he used to do a ton, I don't know if in year 15 or 16 he'll still want to do it at that same capacity. But I could see him playing just as long as Charles Woodson. And the interception tear he was on, I see him being a future Hall of Famer. I think he's going to have the numbers when you look at Paul Krause and his interception numbers, and then Harrison Smith and his. I think Harrison Smith fits the bill. The big difference is Paul Krause played on some great teams. Harrison Smith, yep, they had the Minneapolis Miracle. Yep, they had the playoff win against the Saints. But I think Kirk Cousins can help his Hall of Fame future by, like you said, winning 2 to 3 playoff games in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, Smith is always his brain is the best part of his game. I mean, the way that he reads the offense, he threatens to blitz, he backs off, gets to the right spot. That's not going to leave him quickly. So I think he's got a lot of good years left. Bonus question, I want you to fill in the blank. We talked to Chandon Sullivan yesterday, the former Packer. Chandon Sullivan will be blank as the Vikings starting nickel.
He'll be underrated. I think he'll be underrated. I think that you look at a guy that played all 17 games for the Packers. He started 10 of them. He had 3 interceptions. I think he's going to be underrated, and not because of the way he plays, just because of this defense. I think nickels, what happens when you're a true nickel, so there are some guys like Darrelle Revis, for instance. He would move inside and just end up in the nickel spot because he's guarding the best receiver. So if D-Hop is in the nickel spot, because we know he plays in the slot, he goes there. If Devontae Adams is in the slot, Darrelle Revis goes there. That's going to be the question with Chandon Sullivan is, what does that look like with whoever they decide to draft? If it is a Kyer Elam or a younger guy, and he comes in to be the starter, is Chandon automatically the nickel, or does he have a chance to compete? Because we know Mackenzie Alexander, I talked to him a bunch, and he said that all the time. Like, man, I'm competing for – I remember running to him at the Mall America, man, and we chatted in the Mall America probably about 30 minutes. He had just lost an uncle or something, or a family member just passed, and I was explaining to him, you know, it's okay to grieve, and my dad, and then he went on talking about, like, man, these coaches X, Y, and Z, and I do want to be a starting corner. Like, I did it in college. Like, I'm not just a nickel. And so I think Chandon Sullivan's the same way. I think he's going to come in and say, I can still play starting corner, but if you need me in the nickel, I'll do it. But I think he's going to be underrated. A nickel that we don't hear from is a nickel that's doing his job. If he's getting beat a ton in the slot, then we'll hear about him, and that's not the way you want to hear about your nickel. If he's coming up supporting the run, if he's, you know, batting balls and getting secondary interceptions, because in the hockey, 2 people get an assist. So in football, you don't get an assist for tipping the ball to somebody else that gets the interception. I think they need to add that stat, tipped INT, meaning you were the guy that tipped it for the INT. New stat, add it, give me the credit. I will put stock into that. But that's where I see Chandon Sullivan. I think he's going to be underrated because you have Za'Darius Smith, you have Danielle Hunter, you have this new 3-4 that everybody's going to talk about. You have Eric Kendricks, you have Patrick Peterson. So you have so many other names that Chandon Sullivan is just going to be an underrated player that's going to fit right in with this system that we know these guys with that Packers pedigree coming in to coach it are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the nickel sometimes like it's a lesser position because they don't play every snap, but it's critical. I mean, a lot of the best receivers go in the slot now. And to play the slot, you don't have the sideline to use as leverage. You could go inside, you could go outside, you got to be in the run fit. Sometimes you're blitzing. You got to do a million things. So even though, you know, we don't view him the same way as Peterson or Dantzler, I think he's still a critical player on that defense.